All right, all right, all right. Welcome, everybody. Today, I am super excited. I have a special guest, Briana Borten, with me, and Jamie, oh my God, Tardy, I just forgot her last name for half a second, introduced me to you a while back, and I've kind of been following you and paying attention. I'm really impressed with a number of things. You currently own and run 2 spas.
Yes.
Not salons, but spas. And one of the coolest things I think is, and you've got a whole history of entrepreneurial hustle. Like I made some notes as I was studying up on you, and they have things like hustler, blind ambition, no fear, things like that, etc. But one of the coolest things I really want to dig into as we go through this is the fact that you're running your 2 spas, not salons,
Right.
remotely. In other words, you're living in a totally different location, and you have a profitable business that's doing great without you having to actually work in it, which I think is pretty impressive. So let's start. Tell me, I don't even know where to begin, but was that a good enough intro? Was that fitting, I guess, for you? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And you also, I want to talk about this too. You owned a deli / coffee shop cafe or something like, not a deli, but a coffee shop or cafe at one point.
Yeah.
And which I think has got a funny story behind the reasoning for that. And but interesting. So you've done a lot. But tell me, let's just start. Tell me about your childhood. Did you grow up feeling like you were an entrepreneur?
I grew up in a household that was, we didn't have almost any money. There were like times where we had popcorn for dinner because my parents couldn't afford dinner. But with lots of love. Like I'm really close to my siblings and pretty close to my parents. And I think that inspired like a real sense of security in things that weren't material.
Sure.
And so, and I think from there, I just felt like I could kind of do anything. And they always really encouraged that, like, you can do anything, you can be anything. And then at 7, I was like, I actually thought I was going to own a surf shop, even though I lived in Montana. It was like my dream to own a surf shop on the ocean. And like, I just, I had never surfed, but it seemed like a cool thing to do. So, and then my mom later, when I was in high school, I lived with my dad, but my mom ended up being an entrepreneur. And that was really fun to watch, kind of her process. And that really made it more solid for me that I really wanted to. At that point, I thought I wanted to own a restaurant, which I later found out was not true. But so I think it kind of evolved in a way.
It's interesting to hear that on a couple different fronts. But as a parent, let me ask you, at what age do you have memories of being told you can do anything you want, you can achieve anything you want? Was that early, or did that kind of materialize as you got older? Or?
It was really early, actually. My parents were kind of they were hippies, so they're kind of like hands-off parents in a lot of ways. Like, if you're not going to die, go ahead.
Right.
And I love that, but I feel like between that and feeling like they were always saying, like, yes, you can do anything. I remember them saying that more than anything from a very early age. Like, of course you can, totally you can. I remember being like, I'm going to be the president. My dad being like, awesome.
It's so interesting because I've found myself talking to my daughters, kind of along that way, but I thought, is this too early? Is this too young? And so anyway, all right. So you grew up, I get a little bit of your background. It's interesting because I hear that a lot with entrepreneurs, and you read stories about that a lot. A lot of times you come from nothing. And I think that kind of drives us oftentimes too. But you had sounds like a great upbringing, and that you were kind of raised with love and encouraged. And you oftentimes hear the opposite. So all good to hear. So at what point you grew up and you had all these ambitions, but I think you went to college, right?
I went to school. I actually was enrolled in art school. I decided I wanted to be an artist.
That's right. Okay.
I was smart enough to know I needed to be like a graphic designer if I ever wanted to make money. But I was in art school and I broke my neck. How
did you break your neck?
In a car accident. So
I
wasn't doing anything exciting, but it totally rerouted me. So instead of being able to go to school, I ended up needing to be taken care of for, I was in a brace for 8 months, and I was like in bed for about 2 of those months, and then I was able to get up. And then once I could get up, I was like going again. I was walking in the snow in Montana at 5:30 in the morning to get to my cafe job because I couldn't drive because I had a neck brace on. So I had to walk in the snow.
How far was the walk?
It was about a mile, so it wasn't
Wow.
too bad. But I was, I was still 19. I didn't want to be walking a mile in the snow at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wearing a neck brace. Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of thwarted that a little bit, and then I ended up thinking I was going to just go back and go to school for like philosophy, but then everything just changes. You're at that age where like anything kind of goes.
Yeah, no doubt. So you were 19 when this happened, and
I was 18 when that happened.
18, okay, and then 19, you kind of started having some doubts about being a graphic designer and starting to have a career change. And then I think, if I remember correctly, you opened your first salon around 22. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what happened in between those 3 years?
Well, I went to. I decided that I could die anytime because, like, breaking your neck is like really enforced that you might die. So
I can only imagine. My God.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just go for it. And the one thing I really thought I didn't want to, die without being able to do is go to Europe. So I decided to spend all the money I'd saved for school and go to Europe for as long as I could. And I went there and I ended up, meeting a guy, and we lived in the Czech Republic for a while, and we ran a hostel there.
Was it like you were a manager, or did you start your own hostel?
We were managers.
Got it. Okay.
The owners were actually living in the United States, even though they were Czech, and so we were just running the. It was ridiculous actually that anyone trusted us to run it, but we did, which is good. And then we decided to move back to the United States, and then I ended up going to massage school because I got a lot of relief from massage when my neck was broken. So I decided that's what I wanted to do. And so I went to massage school and then graduated and then started my own practice and then opened my spa.
Got it. Okay. So, and I can remember some of the stories you told Jamie about wanting to run the massage place you were working at originally. So you early on realized after getting that job that you could do it better. So you tell me about the, this is really interesting. Like, I think this part, you got the idea you want to start your own salon or your spa. I swear I won't say that again. I got schooled before we started this interview on the difference between spas and salons. So you got the idea that you want to start your own spa. I keep wanting to say salon for some reason.
You did a good job that time.
Thank you. And you realized you needed some capital to get that done. And if memory serves me correct, you wanted to try and raise about $50,000. And it's interesting. Like, I think the whole startup process and people raising money is becoming more and more common these days. What was that process like for you?
Well, I think I was really naive about the way it goes. And so I went to the SBA and they said, you need to write a business plan. So I said, okay, I'm going to write a business plan. And I wrote a business plan that was actually really good, apparently, because I got lots of compliments from all the bankers. But they still said, you've got a great plan, but you still don't have, you don't have any assets. You don't have anything that we could take if you don't give us our money.
Right.
And so they basically just said no. And I was really surprised and disappointed. Now I wouldn't be. But so then we just started kind of thinking about like outside the box. And my husband had a credit card. He was my boyfriend at the time, but he's my husband now. But at the time, he had a credit card that had, a pretty high limit on it that he let us borrow to do a lot of it. And then my business partner at the time, who I started the spa with, she had family members that had just gotten an inheritance, and they all lent us chunks of money so that we could open the spa.
Got it. How was that? Did you have to go in front of them with meetings with her, or did she handle it?
Oh, no, she couldn't handle it.
She could. Okay.
So, yeah, I was always so much more like the planner. So that's kind of where I stood out to be like, okay, this is how you're going to get your money back, and this is at the percentage. And, we had like really clear agreements. I feel like when you borrow money from family, you kind of have to, or from anyone, I think, but especially family, really important to have it be a two-way street where they're getting something and you're getting something, so it feels good to everyone and not like they're doing you a big favor.
Like a win-win, yeah. So, what was that like? Was it just a high interest rate? Was it equity in the business, or?
It was just a high interest rate and like a kind of fast payoff time.
Got it. So invest a little bit, get paid back. And have you paid that loan back?
Oh yeah, long
Yeah.
time ago. I mean, I bought her half of the business a year and a half later, and in order to do that, I needed to pay off all of her family.
Right.
So at that point, I actually borrowed money from my dad, who like remortgaged his house to give me money so I could
Wow.
buy my friend.
How amazing.
Yeah, I've got like the most supportive dad in the world. He's amazing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he's awesome. So then I ended up having that loan from him, which I paid off in 6 months, which was awesome.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. All right, so let's rewind a little bit. So you get the money and you start, I mean, like, how is that process? Like, did you go and find space and then design a layout, build it out, open the doors and hope that people walked in? Or can you walk me through those early days?
Yeah, so we found this huge space. It's like beautiful, big. It was actually an old trolley house,
Right?
like gorgeous high ceilings, but it had been used basically as a warehouse. So it's like big empty cement space, right?
Sure.
And I like bring my friends there to clean it because like we have to save money everywhere we can, right? So we're like
Right.
doing the cleaning and the painting and all of that. I bring my friends in and they're like, "You're crazy. This is never going to look good. It's a total mess." I'm like, "No, it's beautiful. You have to see beyond this."
I bet it had a ton of character.
Yeah, it did, and it still does, and that's like one of the things I love about it. And knowing that I was like the person who like scrubbed the floors and like painted everything and like all of that made me feel really connected to it
Right.
too. Um, so we started it, and we actually started it kind of small. Even though we had all this space, we built the rooms, but we couldn't finish them because we couldn't afford to.
Right.
So we had like two massage rooms that were finished and looked nice, and then one acupuncture room that was finished and looked nice, and an herb room, and then like a community space. So and then a yoga space. But then we had 6 rooms that the doors were just always closed because they were like not finished because we couldn't afford to finish them.
So they were framed out, the outsides were finished with walls and so
Yeah.
let me rewind. You had two massage rooms, you had an acupuncture room, you had an herb room. What is it, like a retail kind of like, or was that where more of the making the herbs?
Making the herbs, and
Got
then
it.
we also had a sangha room, which is our community space where we have like foot baths and foot massages and couches.
Got it. Okay.
That space too,
And
and then the fun area.
a lobby. And did you say you had a yoga room in there as well?
We did. We had a big yoga space that we put in because we thought we would be doing yoga classes in there, which ended up not really working because you could only do it before and after spa time. Because even though yoga people are like quiet, it's still too loud for a massage.
Yeah,
So,
no, I get it. It would make it. Yeah, I get that. Okay. All right. So, how did you guys get your first customers? I mean, obviously, probably friends and family came in, but like, what was the marketing like or the plan for that?
yeah, I mean, a lot of it was we both had private practices before,
So
and
you
so we
had
told all of our clients to come there.
right,
And
and they were probably excited to versus wherever you were doing it before.
yes.
Yeah.
And we put out flyers, and we try to like tell our community as much as possible. But man, it was slow. Like it wasn't like open your doors and like floodgates, like everyone's
Yeah.
coming.
Gosh, yeah, I can imagine. Did
It
you
was okay.
like how many like first 3 months? What was that like? I mean, were you able to? I guess at that point, like most of your cost. I mean, I would assume like utilities and whatnot would be cost, rent would be cost, but other than that, you guys were probably doing the massages early on, didn't have any other therapists, I would imagine, really, but
No, we had like if we had groups, we had friends that we could call in,
right,
and we would just pay them as contractors. So
sure,
that kind of worked out in the beginning, and then we also, I mean, we took turns working reception because you had to have a receptionist, right? So
yeah. What are you like midway through a massage? I'll be right back.
yeah, 1 second. So I remember, I mean, in the early days, I did 10 massages a day
Holy cow!
and worked reception the other 2 days.
10
So
massages a day.
yeah,
So your hands just like I've learned that I like a firm massage and I go often, and I've learned that if I go in the morning, it's usually better than late in the evening.
yeah. Well, actually, I had a lot of my partner and I didn't agree like from day one. We shouldn't have probably continued, but we did because we were already open.
Yeah, and you guys were in it knee deep together, so
Yeah, so I think I took out a lot of aggression in my clients. So
so
we
you're
still,
just if someone called wanting a firm massage, they got you.
Yeah, that was me.
Deep tissue. That's awesome. Okay, so what were those first 3 months like? Were you break even right away? Were you losing money?
Well, we broke even right away because we didn't like it covered our rent and our utilities and things. But I would say, I mean, we weren't making money to pay us really.
So you went from doing a few massages a day, making decent money, to doing 10 a day, and then the other 2 days playing receptionist and making no money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the best decision ever.
You're like, what am I doing? So
Right.
let me ask you. I mean, so did you see growth month over month in the beginning? You
Yeah,
know?
we did. And that's like kind of what kept us going. It's like
Yeah.
it wasn't huge. It was I mean, I remember calling my dad on their first $1,000 day and it wasn't I mean, it definitely wasn't near the beginning. And I was like, we made $1,000. I mean, if we made $1,000 now there'd be a big problem. So it's like, oh, like
When was that? Was that 90 days, 180 days?
I would say it was probably yeah, probably around 180 days or more. It was before a year.
And what's the massage cost? Like 50, $60 then?
Yeah, I think it was like 80. I think we charged 80.
80.
Then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, you guys were high end. Is it still 80 now or is it higher?
Higher.
Yeah. Wow.
It's higher, actually. We've only raised our prices twice since then. So in 10 years.
Wow.
Not bad.
I always, well, anyway. So that was around the 6 month mark. And man, I can only imagine. So you slowly saw month over month growth and that gets you kind of excited, keeps you going. And was there ever a point in that? I'm sure the first year was pretty tough. Was there ever a point where you just started to have serious doubts about everything, or did you just have that kind of blind ambition and keep rolling?
I mean, I kind of had blind ambition, and I always felt like if I could just do this on my own without my business partner, things would be way better.
And was that because of the constant disagreements and the power struggles, or was it more of a from getting to a profitability standpoint, only having to pay one instead of splitting it?
It was really because of having like different ideas of how to grow and
Got
what we
it.
wanted to do. And I had really strong ideas about wanting to be like what we are now. And she was really content with being much smaller and also not, and she was more concerned about paying herself than growing the business. And I was much more concerned with growing the business and like I didn't really need that much. I mean, I was like 22, I needed like beer money. I was like pretty good.
Right.
So it was
Yeah.
just had a difference of opinion.
That's interesting. So was that whole? She was with you for a year and a half, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And was she older, younger, family, married? Older.
Yeah.
So her needs were probably different, and that may have been a driving factor too. Um,
Yeah. Sure.
So was there a point, I guess, in that year and a half where you hit your end of the road and you said, I have to make a decision, I have to buy her out, or how can I do this? Or how did that all go down?
I have like some PTSD about it. I think I don't totally remember exactly how it happened. But I'm pretty sure she was just like, I want out. You need
Oh,
to
she
buy
came to you.
Yeah.
Okay. And in your mind, you're like, how can I get her out? How can I get her out? Probably. And so you're like, oh, thank God. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really, I mean, I think it was good. She wanted out and I wanted her out.
Right.
So that worked out pretty well. It was just then like negotiating what the terms would be with somebody who was not very, wasn't very understanding of how businesses work. Like our business wasn't like worth anything yet, but yet she wanted to be paid to leave it. And I was
Right.
like, but
And there's debt.
yeah.
Yeah.
I paid off her debt and then I had to pay her on top of that. So it was like, that doesn't make any sense. But it was worth it to me because I knew, you know, like whatever. I think I paid her like $10,000 at this point. I'm kind of like, it's totally worth it.
That was a good deal. Yeah. Did that negotiation get ugly? Did it hurt your friendship?
Oh yeah, we weren't friends from like we hadn't been friends for a long time at that point. So it was not. I mean, we were like barely talking.
Wow.
So
So you were going in and seeing her every day, and oh my God.
it was awful.
Yeah, I can only imagine. It's interesting. I have a real similar story. This isn't the interview for that, obviously, but I'll share that with you sometime. It's pretty funny. Like almost the same. It's a real similar story. So anyway, all right. So you bought her out, and then was it just like run with all the ideas you had and build it? And that was let me actually backtrack just a little bit. That was a year and a half. How much personally had you paid yourself in that year and a half, just ballpark?
Oh, like $18,000 maybe.
So you're making like $15 or $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's
Woo-hoo!
awesome. And you've got this beautiful salon that people are paying $80 for a massage for.
Yeah.
It's, you know what? It's interesting though. Like you've seen the interview I did with Devin and Melanie, and we're going to get to where you are now, which is real similar. But their story it's parallel. It's almost the same. And Lewis and I, my business partner, have a real similar story. It's like in the beginning, you really have to believe in the big vision and know that it may not be as good as you think it is. It's going to take a lot longer than, for me, it was a lot longer than I thought to get to where I wanted to be. But in general, it's just that early days, you really have to hustle and have that. I call it blind ambition, not having any fear, not thinking about anything other than the future and where you're going.
Yeah.
So you made $1,000 a month. You split with your business partner, bought her out of the business. You now own 100% of it. And at this point, are you still 2 massage rooms, same setup exactly?
Yeah, at that point when I bought her out, well, I had opened my Ayurvedic practice in there too, so I changed one of the rooms into a room where there were 2 chairs where I could interview people to do Ayurvedic
Okay.
consultations. So we turned one room into that during that time.
I don't even know what that is. How do you say it again?
Ayurveda.
Ayurveda?
Yeah, it's a holistic medicine from India.
Okay.
So it's like about, diet and herbs and lifestyle.
Got it. Okay, cool. And that, so you opened another room, I guess, for that. Is the yoga studio still in place at a year and a half into it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. So, and was your business partner strong on the yoga studio thing? Or was that you or both? Or
She just was strong on not doing anything else different, like not
staying the same. And you're like, this is awesome at $1,000 a month. I can only do this. Okay, so you get her out. So you open up, and at this point, you now have one additional room, if you want to call it, in your thing. And then what was the next year like from that point?
So after I bought her half of the business, I was able to really do a lot of the things I wanted to do, which one of the main things I wanted to do was get rid of the yoga studio and put in saunas and showers and those kinds of things. So that's the first thing I did was I got another loan from the SBA, and then I did that.
And let me ask you this. Okay, so you bought her out, so all that original debt was paid off. And
Yeah.
you didn't have any, you weren't carrying, at this point, you're still carrying debt for the credit card loan?
Yeah, a little bit of debt from the credit card
okay.
loan at that time, and then I actually had to get a loan from my father so that I could buy her half.
Got it. That's right.
Asset. And then I brought on the SBA debt for putting in the showers and saunas and all of that in the space where the yoga studio was.
Okay, and I can imagine the build out for that was extremely expensive.
Yeah, it was really expensive, and we did a lot of the work ourselves. I mean, still at that point, we only were able to get so much of a loan from the SBA, so we had to do whatever we could.
So you're laying tile and grouting and.
Yeah. I mean, mostly my skills don't go that far, but my husband's do, so that's nice. He was able to do some of that, and then I did painting and those kinds of things.
Got it. Okay, and so at this point, and let me just ask you, showers and whatnot, is that like people just want to rinse off after a massage and get all the lotion off, or what was the motivation for that?
Well, we wanted to have showers and saunas. First, like saunas help really like detoxify your body and make it really capable of receiving massage at a deeper level.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we wanted our people to be able to do that beforehand. But then you're in a sauna and you get all hot and sweaty, right? So you don't want to like go onto a massage table all gross and sweaty.
Yeah.
So lots of people like sauna and then shower and then come. And then a lot of people want to rinse off afterwards. So that was kind of our idea. And we wanted to make it more of like a luxury experience and less like come into the room and take off your clothes and then put them back on, but instead have robes and sandals. And I mean, it was a huge shift actually, because it meant like more employees and it meant more time and it meant like a lot of negotiating the space that we hadn't had to do before.
In the build out of that and having to do all okay. And let me ask you this: was that something that you're like, okay, now that if you buy an $80 massage, you have access to this and this, or is it an upsell to get the spa sauna access? Or
I think actually, yeah, I think that we raised our price $5 at that time, and then this was included for everyone.
Got it. Were most of the people taking advantage of that?
Yes. I
Yeah.
mean, most people do, and most people did like immediately. And actually, that grew our business probably more than any like one thing that we did. Where like most things that you do, they kind of like build upon each other, and maybe
Sure.
they help eventually. That was like huge difference. It went from like I probably doubled our income.
Wow. So, did you build this out right away, or was that 3 months after she was gone, or 6 months after you were solo?
8 months after she was gone, we were able to actually like get in there and build it. So we
Right.
had the plan, but we had to like get all like the permits, and I had to get a loan and all of that. So that's kind of how it went.
Was it still about? Are you now paying yourself $2,000 a month since there's only one?
I think probably, yeah, maybe a
Yeah.
little less though, because I learned how to live on $1,000, and I really wanted to pay back my debt.
Right.
Because I knew that if I ever wanted to, I hate being in debt, but I'm like really good at getting in debt, but I'm also really good at getting out of debt. So
Right.
I did that process of, I don't know that I raised how much I got paid very much. And then I was able to pay off both my dad's loan and the SBA loan. I think they were both paid off within 9 months.
Got it. Okay. So you're just over the 2 year mark. You get the showers, the saunas built, and at this point, you're paying off some debt, able to make just a little bit. And so, what was that? So you said it was the biggest single difference. So were people? I mean, I can imagine that creating like a much bigger experience.
Yeah.
Instead of just coming in for a massage, you go in, you change, you get on the table, and get your massage. It's like all of a sudden now you're getting a sauna, so you're getting detoxified a little bit. My wife just did a sweat lodge this weekend, so we were just talking about the toxins and all of that. And then the massage is probably more beneficial and feels better. And wow, okay, so were people then leaving like, oh my god, this is amazing, and then they were telling friends and referring people, or were you doing
Yeah.
additional marketing?
Yeah, of course. Like, I think in the beginning, even then, it was like I was still pretty young and not that great of a manager still. And at this point, this is when we had to take on like a many more employees.
Like, what do you
And
have? Like 3 employees, and then you jump to 6 or 10 or 12 or 20, or
I think right beforehand, we had one receptionist and two receptionists that worked, and they were both kind of part time. And then we had therapists that like still were working like as contractors. And then from there, when we opened up that part, we had to have, spa attendants who were like tending to that area, and we had to have more receptionists because we got way busier. So we had to have more receptionists, more therapists. And so at that point, it was like a growth that was like great and also a little bit painful because I myself had to grow a lot as a manager.
sure.
And I mean, honestly, I pretty much sucked at it in the beginning. I was like,
How old were
I,
you?
I was, I guess, like 24 at the time.
Okay.
And I thought I was doing a great job at the time, but now I look back, I'm like, oh yeah, I wasn't doing a great job. And so it ended up with like a lot of complications of the way, like how I was hiring was like, oh, she seems cool, or she's cute, or whatever.
Instead of hiring based on skills and ability, you're hiring on how you like people.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also not looking at like whether or not they share our same values for our business, which is super important when you're serving people in a way that's so intimate, to know that your values are aligned, so that you know that you're providing them with a certain feeling.
Sure.
And so I've learned to hire for that, but in the beginning it definitely wasn't. I was hiring like kind of like cool hip people that actually like hated working for other people, which I was like, awesome.
You discover that after you're starting to pay them and then having to give them instructions to do stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So you were hiring people in kind of the wrong way, and I think I remember in some of the stuff that I read and learned about you that you were a bad manager, and I think you were saying it was really coming from within you, and not necessarily based on hiring, but maybe my guess is maybe you had like fears about how people would react to things, and then that kind of parlayed into how you were instructing them to do things, and then it manifested itself. Is that fairly accurate?
Yes, I feel like actually part of it was actually that I felt like I was always trying to prove that I was in charge. Like, I'm in charge here. Like,
Yeah.
And I kind of was like pushing in that way. Like, I want you to respect me, and I want you to do what I say because I'm paying you and I'm in charge. Instead of just realizing that I like am in charge and like I didn't have to prove it to anyone, you know.
Right.
And
Yeah.
when that changed in me, when I felt like when I had the realization, oh, I actually am in charge, and I just took things way less personally, you know, and
Sure.
I stopped trying to like push everyone so much and started inviting them into like a certain way of being, and that made a huge difference.
Was that like a shift that happened in one moment, or was that something you look back and just see that it somehow gradually, naturally happened?
It was actually a shift that happened in one moment. I
Really?
remember, yeah, doing it, and it was actually like a real, and it's like a sense I still have like deep inside of me that feels so different, and it was like something just happened. It was like during a meditation actually, and I was like, oh, I'm in charge. Like that feels so good.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, and then you notice instantly, and I struggled with this early on as well. It's like I always hated giving people instructions to do things that I didn't want to do, and I could tell by their responses that they were. But at some point, I realized like it just doesn't matter. They're getting paid to do a job, and you kind of took a different approach, I think, with empowering people. But for me, I just got to a point where I'm like, all right, I'm going to tell them what to do, and they're going to do it. And then it just made I don't know, like I think we put these things in our head that hold us back, and it was interesting to hear that. So you had your monumental shift, and did you have to fire a bunch of employees and bring in new ones once you took this new approach, or did they just start behaving differently? Or
Well, the ones that were no good left.
got it?
And that just is how it always is now. It's
Sure.
so nice. It's like we almost never have to fire anyone. Like we have a standard and we hold everyone to it. And people that can't reach that standard usually leave.
Got it.
It's
Okay.
nice.
And so, all right. So you put this. You're at like 24, 26 months somewhere in there. You open up the sauna in your spa, and were people? I mean, so you had this idea. You thought it would be great and everything. And were you getting that feedback immediately? Like, oh my god, what a difference it makes in the massage, or was it just like, wow, that was an amazing day. Thank you. I mean, what was the moment there?
Yeah, I feel like our we definitely started getting more emphatic feedback and like people that became much more regulars. So both of those things kind of started at the same time, and people began telling more people. Like we started getting referrals from almost all of our clients,
Wow.
and that's really how we've grown. Is pretty much like a referral basis.
So you
And
weren't
so
doing Groupon, which probably wasn't around then, but
no, it wasn't around then. We did do a Groupon, like my style of Groupon, which was through Groupon, but in a way that was like sustainable, like financially.
right.
I was like, oh my gosh, I would never do that again.
Yeah.
But you have to try it once, right?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I get it. So okay, so you were growing. It was mainly just referrals and word of mouth, and you weren't doing any additional marketing per se, other than just providing a great service and a great atmosphere and a great experience, and that was actually helping you grow
Yeah,
organically.
I mean, we always did like emails, like monthly emails that were really informative, and we had parties and things that we'd advertise. So there were things that we tried to do that were still kind of marketing, but I mean, throughout the years, we kind of realized that it was wasting our money kind of to advertise like in print or whatever because people want to go to a place that they've been referred to,
Right.
and so we just like focused all of our attention on our clients.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I think about that business from a marketing perspective, I can see that. That makes a lot of sense just from personal experience over the years. That's exactly how it happens. Okay, and so did you after you installed? Let's just start over or start from day one after you get the sauna and everything in. Did growth from that point go up 50% in a year, double, quadruple? Like what was that like
It definitely doubled from one year to the next year, like half.
after the sauna was in place and the showers?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then from there was like a steady increase, but it never doubled again.
got it. Okay.
Unfortunately. I wish it had just doubled every year. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But
And that was probably a big, I mean, you kind of mentioned that earlier, that original growth from that point through the next year was probably a big challenge for you to manage that growth. And then it's
yeah.
interesting. So, maybe everything happens for a reason. And as you're growing quicker, you might still be like racking your. So, okay. So, and what year was this? What year did you start the business?
2003.
Wow. Okay, so this was 10 years ago, or 2013. Year two was a monumental year. Year two to year three, you doubled in growth, and then it's continued to grow since then,
Yeah.
roughly. So, at what point did you go and start adding more massage rooms? And
Right around, like all of that kind of happened around the same time, and I don't remember exactly how it went, but it was definitely like year three, and maybe even a little bit into. Well, in year three, we opened all the massage rooms that we had space for in the
how many
spa.
was that?
Oh, I always have to count. Isn't that so bad? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 treatment rooms.
7. So you went from 2 to 7 in 1 year.
Actually, I think we did some of that in year two too. So we went from, it was like in those 2 years.
In those 2 years. That's huge. And were those at that by year three? Are those booked all the time for the most part and running or half
They were
full?
getting close.
Yeah.
They were definitely getting close. So that was, yeah, right around that time it started getting more and more that way.
Okay. And at this point, by the end of, let's just say the end of year three, which would be a year after you open the sauna, are you all debt free? Are you paid off, or are you still working that down?
At that point, yeah, all of the debt was gone.
That's so awesome. Okay, and then are you starting to pay yourself more by the end of year three?
You would think, yes. Yeah, no, I think I did start paying myself more at that point.
Yeah.
You know, and also like having the spa cover like my cell phone and things like that. You know, like taking.
It's a monumental moment, isn't it? You're like, yes, the $80 a month bill is gone.
Yeah. So that happened, and that was everything was kind of working in that direction. And then I got pregnant with my daughter in 2007.
So that was year 4.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's when I decided to open a cafe next door.
This is actually a great story. What was your main motivation to open the cafe?
I really wanted my daughter to come to work with me.
Right.
And my
Why didn't you
office
just bring her into work?
well, my office was right next to a massage room, and like babies and massages like do not combine well.
Yeah, I can fully imagine. My God. Okay.
So it's like there was a really cute little antique store next door that was like almost never open, and she decided to retire. So I thought, oh, perfect. Well, we'll just rent your space and open a cafe so I can put an office in there so I can bring my daughter to work.
When you say cafe, you're serving like espressos and coffee.
Yeah, and like pastries and sandwiches and soup and like a small menu.
So your restaurant owning ambition did end up creeping back in.
Yeah. It was, I realized pretty quickly that I didn't love owning a restaurant,
Oh
but
my God, yeah.
it was good because I got to bring my daughter to work, and then we got to turn my office into a treatment room. So that was really good because we really needed another treatment room at that point.
And just to emphasize this, you really were like, all right, I want to bring her to work so I can open a cafe next door, put an office in over there. She can cry all she wants. The people getting massage will never hear it. And God, it's too funny. And just, I don't want to touch too much on that, but I think that's a crazy bold move. Was the build out crazy for that? Because I know, like, did you have espresso machines? And
Oh yeah, I mean it was
pretty expensive.
and expensive. Yes, I had to get a loan, and then I had to open like the whole cafe, and yeah, it was expensive. I mean, it might not have been like the smartest thing I've ever done, but
Go figure.
it was worth it to me still. I feel like it was a time in which I couldn't leave the spa still. I was like really relied upon heavily still. My manager was not that strong at the time, and I was like not going to be away from my kid. Like
Right.
it's just something that was really important to
So
me.
you had to open a cafe.
I had to. I didn't have a choice, Sean. It was the only option.
That's so great. All right, and if I remember correctly, you like opened with like 3 weeks before your daughter came, or 4 weeks or something, right?
Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks. We opened 2 weeks and then she was born.
How long were you away from the salon and the newly opened
The
cafe?
newly opened cafe. I think it was about 3 weeks.
Wow, I can't believe you took that much time off.
I know. It was really good. I actually was really dedicated to being at home for
Right.
2 weeks with my daughter, and then like a week where I went in like once, and then the next week we were back there, which is nice because my husband works there too. So it was like our whole family could be at work together, which is really nice.
Oh, it's amazing. That's cool. Okay, so I think that's too funny. You owned that for roughly 2 years, is that right?
Yeah.
And during that time, did it ever make money? Was it always break even or?
Um, no, it definitely didn't break even in the beginning. I wish it had, but then eventually it did, and then we were able to sell it. So as soon as it started making money, we sold it.
Yeah, it's interesting. All the coffee shops and cafes, like little independent ones that I go to, I swear it seems like if you go there enough, you realize the owner is always working.
Yeah,
Yeah. Some just like, man, it just seems like such a rough business idea. You're basically just building yourself a job.
yeah.
But
And I think for some people that might not be bad. Like the people we sold it to are this like wonderful husband and wife, and they're bakers, and they're always there together, and they enjoy making food. Like I don't like cooking, and I actually don't really like food that much. I don't like really care. So I
right,
was like not the right person for that job.
right.
And I was so glad that they bought it because they love it.
Were they customers of yours?
No, they weren't. We like advertised it, and they came in, and we clicked really well with them.
Wait, you
Really,
advertised like a business for sale?
yeah,
I was going to ask about that. Okay. And at this point, are your financials like getting pretty good? It's making a little bit of money and has some potential.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it made
Let me
it
just ask you, how long did that thing lose money?
for about a year.
Ah, it's so painful.
It was painful.
But it still probably felt like the right thing to do based on having your daughter there, being able
Yeah.
to be there. And I get
And
it.
it
Okay.
kind of made up for it. Like our other treatment room that we were able to open, that treatment room made enough money to offset the loss.
Oh, so you had that other additional treatment room in day one.
Yes.
Okay.
So because I moved my office, I was able to turn my office into a treatment room, and so that generated enough money to cover the loss at the cafe. So it
Got
kind of worked out. Um, and then we are also able to create a break room for our staff, which is really nice because we didn't have one for a while.
Was that part of the new space?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So you got a couple good benefits out of that. It was breaking even based on on the fact of the new one. Okay. And then year two, it started to make a little bit of money,
Yeah.
which is
Oh,
actually pretty amazing, I would think, for most restaurants.
yeah. It was amazing, but it still wasn't very much.
Yeah,
It was
like
kind of like,
$20 a month or something.
yeah, like really not worth all the work.
At least
Uh,
it's not going the other way.
Right. That was a really good thing. But then we wanted. So the reason we ended up selling it, I think we might have even kept it going because it was getting easier and we were making money. But we wanted to open a spa in the airport, and in order to get loans for that, we weren't able to have a business that was doing so little.
Got it. That
We had
affected
to,
your ability to get a loan from the other business.
yes,
Wow. Okay. So you're like, I'm going to sell this, get that debt paid off, get another. Okay. And as you advertised it, they came in, you clicked, and you bought it. Did you make money at least on the sale, or was it more of just kind of get out of this so I can start making more money with the massage business or the spa business that's paying me?
the money that we made from that basically like paid off the debt, the rest
Yeah.
of the debt. So it basically, I mean, we didn't really like, it didn't turn out very well, but we did like make a deal that we got like 50% off of food forever. So
Oh, that's great. That should
yeah,
have been
so
free food, darn it.
that might have been a good idea, but we eat there all the time. When we're back in Portland, it's like my home away from home.
You go there because you're not there anymore. We'll talk about that in a second. And which I really want to get to fast because we're kind of not running out of time, but getting close. So let me just think. I remember you had the airport approach you. They probably approached a bunch of different spas, and they asked you, "Hey, we submit a proposal. We'd love to have a spa in the airport." And was that like, "Oh, this is amazing," or "I don't know how this is going to work," or did they give you like data on people and location where it was going to be? Like, how did you make the decision? Okay, this is a good idea, or it's not, or
Yeah, they give you a lot of data actually. They give you all the data of the airport and like how much they expect you to pay to open it because they have like $1 per square foot that you have to spend basically to open anything there. And so they give you that kind of data, and then I was able to research other airport spas and see like how much they make per enplaning passenger.
how was
Um,
that? Was that like phone calls and like, hey, I'm going to open this one here, or
A lot of them are actually like able to be franchised or they are publicly traded, and so I'm able to like a lot of that information is actually available, like publicly available.
yeah, because if they're publicly traded, they have to report earnings. And they're probably talking about, yeah, I get it.
So I was able to find all of that information, and so based on that, I was able to see like, okay, well that they're making this much per enplaning passenger. The Portland airport has this many enplaning passengers. That means then I could calculate whether or not this was a good move for us. But I also just, I'm also like, fun, that sounds like fun. I'll do that now.
I love it. I get that. I feel like you get your heart set on something, you just run for it, and you have this vision, but I think a lot of people get screwed up in analyzing things so much to the point that they talk themselves out of it. Do you agree with that? Do you ever struggle with that, or is that something that's just...
No, I wish I did kind of a little bit. Like I wish I had like a little bit more of that actually, because I feel like actually one of my managers was a total like what I call like hole blower. Like she blows holes in all the ideas, and it's really great to have somebody like that on your team.
To balance, yeah.
Because then you can kind of like weigh things a little bit differently. And so she's been really good for me actually, because I tend to just kind of like go.
Yeah. Well, that's gotten you to where you're at, and it's good to have someone to balance that, but you don't want to spoil what's kind of work for you as well. So you got in the airport. How was that? I mean, was that a pretty easy process to get set up and get in there? Or?
No, hardest process ever. Definitely like the hardest process I've ever had in anything maybe. I mean, it's just so much bureaucracy, and I'm so used to being like whatever I want, right? Like I want to do this, that's how it'll be. I want this to be this color, okay. First, like even submitting a proposal and getting interviewed and like winning the space took 8 months.
Jesus.
Even just to know that I had the space.
Yeah.
And even to do that, you have to have drawings of what you're going to have it look like. You have to have a management team in place. There's a lot you have to do before you even know that they're going to give you the space. And you're competing against like big companies. And so that was really challenging. And then when we get the space, I was like, whew, right? Like everything's going to be great.
Yeah.
But like, it was just like the beginning, then it's like creating a plan where basically they could look at your plan and know exactly how everything's going to be. Like every inch of everything is planned. And like, there's so much like, you can't do this because of like that. There's so many stupid rules. And so it was so challenging for me because I've always been kind of like, you can't tell me what to do kind of person.
Right.
So it was good for me in a lot of ways though, because I realized that like, I let go of some of that energy to be like, my higher purpose is this.
Right.
And I have to let go of a little bit of my like to like the man.
I love it.
And like to get what I want.
Right.
And so it was good, but it was challenging.
So 8 months, you got the space, and then how long did it take to get the build out approved, get that done, and get up and running?
Another 8 months, I think. 6 months.
6 months. So 15 months, let's say, after you started on the process, you were able to open the door?
Yeah.
And if you were going to open a second location, how long would that take you? Not in the airport, like just in another...
Probably around 6 months,
6
maybe.
months. Okay, and then with all of that planning that you did you find actually the build out and getting up and running strictly from not because of your experience, but from the process that they made you go through, that help with any of that, or was it still at the end of the day just a big pain in the ass and it would have worked out pretty much the same?
The one really good thing I can say is like now I have like this book that is like every single thing that is in there and like the colors and the paints and like all of that, which I've now our other spas organized like that, but it wasn't from the beginning. And it does take a lot of time and energy to have something like that. So now we're opening a third location and I refer to it. I'm like, who manufactured that? What is that voltage? How much of this do I need? So yeah, it is useful, I think. And also it helps a lot when like things go wrong in the airport. So I can see for them why they do it that way. Like if something goes wrong in your space, they know exactly where to go to fix it, which is great.
What do you mean, like a leak or?
A leak or an electrical problem or anything.
Because you've got all that stuff mapped out before you even break ground.
Yeah.
Awesome. How's that location? How long ago was that? That would have been, 2008?
No, we opened that in 2010. Is that true? Yes. Yes, 2010.
Okay.
So it's been almost 3 years. So it'll be 3 years in February.
It was 2008 that you sold the business, right? It took 18 months. Okay. So, and how's that location doing?
It's doing okay. It's not as profitable as our other business, and I think that the main reason is because it's based so much on like who's in the airport,
Yeah.
right? So we can only affect that to a certain degree. Our other business, there's so much we can do if things are slow. At the airport, it's kind of like can't make more people fly,
Yeah, you
so
can't do marketing to bring people in off the street either. Yeah.
right. So it makes it more challenging. It's one of those things where you open your doors in an airport in the middle of the recession is like I'm like not a recession person. I'm like I make my own economy.
I'm the same. Yeah.
Not in the airport. Like in the airport, it's like no, like airports reflect the economy like directly, like month to month. You can see it. Like the economy's up, airports are up. The economy's down, airports
And
are
you mean
down.
just spending from the consumers in the airport?
Yeah, and even flying, like who is actually even on a plane? It'll
Right.
go up like that. It's
Wow.
amazing to me actually how much it reflects like the consume like the consciousness of the recession. So it was challenging and it pushed us to get even better at marketing.
Right.
And so
What do you do in the airport to market it outside of having like great signage and lighting and like?
we do kind of like interesting things. We like make relationships with hotels around the airport so that they're sending their people there.
Does that
Um,
work?
It does work a little bit. The main thing actually that we did was we started this campaign called Take Five, where we give people free 5 minute massages when we're slow. So we put out a sign, we're like, we'll give you a free 5 minute massage. Like, you don't have to do anything. And then that helps because it just like breaks the ice with people. And then
And you
usually,
get 5 minutes, you're like, damn it, give me a half hour.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So did that really? What is the? Just out of curiosity, what are the conversions like from the 5 minute to a paying massage?
It's about 70%.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
And I would imagine even if they don't take it, they're probably tipping the therapists that are there.
Yeah, they're tipping the therapist or they're just grateful too. Like that's one of the main things is that people are so grateful and we based our whole business around like really being of service. So even if people don't tip us or don't buy anything, that they love us is enough, and that they will go like do that they'll spread that into the world, and
Yeah.
that always comes back for us in good ways. Like
Tenfold.
people come in all the time and we like give them neck packs and they sit down. They don't do pay us anything. We're just like, but you can because we're here and we love you, so that's okay.
It's our purpose. That's really cool. So 70%, man, that's incredible and that's really smart. I fly all the time and I'm always, fortunately, I never really have delays. So I'm always rushing from one gate to another and I'm just like, damn it, I want to go in one of those places one time when I'm flying. It would be so nice to just get a
Yeah,
massage during that. So, all right.
you're in Portland. Come on
I
by.
will. When you, with American Airlines and their little pilot disagreement they got into where the pilots were stalling all the planes, I don't know if did that affect business? Did it go up this last summer?
Not that much. Like the things that we always pray for are kind of like bad weather. Like bad weather you can't predict. Like predicted bad weather is bad for us because then people don't even come to the airport.
Sure.
But like unpredictable bad weather is like awesome for our business.
Yes, sales are going up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so but sounds like you got a lot of benefits out of it. You were able to expand out of your comfort zone, get into a second location, go through a whole bureaucracy to get even open, which then left you with this formula and this system that you're now using in the current salon and also to open the third salon.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's
Okay, so business is good, life is good.
Business is good, life is good. Yeah. That spa really helped build the business of the other spa too, which is great. It's like a huge billboard in the, airport. So
Oh, and all your travelers going are seeing it, and
yeah,
you saw a direct reflection? Yeah?
direct reflection. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
How cool is that? Okay. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a great billboard for probably your target audience, I would think, would fit into the traveler pretty well.
Yeah,
For
pretty
the most
well.
part. Either people have a lot of money and they're vacationing, or the business traveler who is someone who probably fits. It's a good fit. So, okay, awesome. That makes sense. And that's, even if it's break even, it was probably worth it at the end of the day. So you're now, and real quick, let's skip to this part and we'll come back. I want to talk about the third salon. But
Spa.
what's that?
Spa.
Spa. God, if I do it again, I'll quit. I'm done. And I probably, have I said it anymore?
A couple times. It's okay.
Stop it. Sorry. All right, so you're getting ready to open your third spot, but this is the part that I think is the most cool. So last August, you and your husband and your child left Portland and moved to Boulder. Is that right?
Yep.
Boulder. And I mean, okay. So you moved to Boulder, and you don't have any spas in Boulder, right?
Not yet. No.
Okay. And why did you move to Boulder?
Well, it's really rainy in Portland, and I love Portland dearly, but we needed a place with a little bit more sunshine and a smaller place for us too, and some place that we felt really good about raising our daughter. Not that I feel bad about raising my daughter in Portland, but it's so different to be able to be outside every day, and we really wanted that environment for her and for us.
We share the same thing, and it's funny we discovered before we started this. We moved about the same time. Yeah, but this is like the thing that is probably puzzling most people. How do you go? How are you location independent? How did that process all come about? And actually, yeah, tell me that, and then we'll talk about how it's doing now.
So we actually like set it up for a while beforehand. So I basically didn't go into the spa for almost a year. I mean, I went in sometimes because like I want to see everybody, but not I was not working there.
So
And
for
so
a year, so this last August of 2012, you left and you moved. So 2011, August roughly, you were in there what, once a week, once a month?
once a week usually I would go in, sometimes not as much, and then I started having like my meetings with my managers on the phone to see how that would work and to try to see, as soon as something came up that they needed me physically, I created a system or a solution so that when I wasn't there, there would be something there. And over a year, you pretty much cover most of the things that could happen, and so I was able to like use it as a way to like make all those systems so that
Awesome.
they had everything.
Was that something you just said, okay, I'm done coming in, or did you gradually work into that where it was 5 days a week to 4 to 3 to 2, or
It was pretty gradual. Just I think I was like there about like 3 days, and then I went 2 days, and then I went one day, and then I was kind of like, I'll be here when I feel like it.
got
So
did you have any fear of like your employees or your managers getting upset, or did you find that they were happier that you weren't there, or
well, I don't know that they were happier that I wasn't there, but I don't know that they would tell me if they were.
well, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's like not that the cat's away, the mice play, but it's like it's
Yeah.
nice not to have your boss breathing down your neck. That's what I meant, I guess. But
Yeah. No, the both of my managers that I had, we had known for a while that our plan was to move to Boulder
right,
or somewhere. We didn't know for sure it was Boulder. And so at that point, actually at the point that one of my managers, I think both of them actually, when they were hired, they knew that we were leaving. And so it was kind of like, this is the time frame. And we actually thought we were going to move a little bit earlier. And so at that point, we had like, okay, you'll have this sort of compensation change when we leave. But we didn't leave then. But that's like
was that for the better or for the worse? The compensation change
for better for
for
them,
them, so they
better
were
for
going to be
them.
making more money once you left,
Yes.
and
So
that's how
they
was that
paid,
designed to get them excited and take more ownership of.
yeah, and to like have an eye for expenses and income, so because it's based on profitability.
Got it. So you were going to delegate more duties to them about the time you were leaving.
Yeah, and needed them to feel like they were really part of it, And
Yeah.
so we thought we were going to leave in fall, even though we didn't leave until the next. So at that time, that's when I was like, okay, this is when I'm going to remove myself because I'm not going to change when I told you I'd change your compensation.
Yeah.
So change your compensation now and leave, but I'll still be in town to support you
Right.
if you need me for a while. And so that worked out pretty well because I think that they felt like they got more responsibilities. They're also being compensated to do it, and I still think they felt pretty connected to me. And we still, and I try to continue that when I left too, to make sure that they stay really connected to me.
That's awesome. And this is one manager for each location, is that right? When you
Yeah.
refer to two, okay. Do you what would happen if one of them, God forbid, were to get killed in a car accident tomorrow? Do you have a plan in place for somebody to do that, or would you have to fly back and run it?
Well, I mean, we have other managers there, so they both have an assistant manager, and then we have a retail manager and a marketing manager. So there are other people who could run it, but I would definitely fly back and hire somebody else.
Got it.
So
You wouldn't promote. Well, We shouldn't say too much, but
Like, I don't know, maybe I would.
well, you never know. But you never know how they would grow into it. But yeah, I hear you.
No, definitely. And I think, I mean, at this point, who knows who that would be, but I think probably if that were to ever happen, they're trained well enough that they could move up into that position. Several of them are. So I really do think that I would promote somebody, but I would still probably go back and be like, okay, let's, I mean, I wouldn't, especially if somebody died, like I would want to go
Well, you know what I
back.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
I got asked that question a while ago when I had a less than desirable team member, but they were pretty essential, and but they were essential, but they were whatever. And I don't want to say too much, but someone told me that, like, what would you do? And I was like, well, and he said, I'm going to hang up the phone, spend 10 minutes, and write down a plan. I'm going to call you back. I'm like, all right. So I was like, well, if that were to happen, I would probably do this, I would do this, I would do this, and I would do this. And then it was a matter of, okay, I need to make that happen ASAP because I don't need to have this that comes along with this. It should just be this, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
But it's just interesting because you're completely removed. So I wondered, like, what if that were to happen? Do you have a system in place? But you've already got it. Probably would work itself out. You could get back and hire somebody. Okay. So that's so cool. So you took a year off, not essentially off, but removed yourself, transitioned into that, and how long you been there now? For 7 months, roughly 8 months.
Yeah, since August, however long that is. I'm like, I don't.
How many hours a week are you putting into your business? I know you're doing the third location, but the two that are running now.
Into those two locations, probably 3 hours a week.
3 hours a week.
Yeah, and then I mean, during that year off, we started another business, and so I spend some time doing that now too.
And this is the pain patch.
Yeah,
And how's that going?
it's actually doing really well. So we've been like selling it now for about a year. We've
Okay.
had like it's been in business for like 2 years kind of, but the FDA held it for about a year. So a year of our opening business was just like lawyers and FDA crap.
Yeah, I read that. What a headache. Yeah.
Yeah, it was awful. But now we have them, and we've had them for a year, and they're in Whole Foods in the Northeast, in the Northeast division, and we're getting into Northwest, and a lot of practitioners carry us, and yeah, it's been really good. And even just like this past couple months, we've seen like major growth, which has been wonderful.
Really, is that coming from sales from Whole Foods or like
Sales from Whole Foods and a lot of practitioners, like lots and lots of like acupuncturists, naturopaths, massage therapists, and they sell it to their clients.
Is your husband an herbalist? Is that right?
Yeah, he's an herbalist. He's an acupuncturist and an herbalist.
So,
So
and if the story, if I remember correct, this is a funny story, but did someone drop a golf bag on your ankle?
I was at a golf course and I dropped a massage chair on my
Oh,
foot.
massage chair. Okay, and your ankles swelled up. You spent the whole day doing massages, standing on one leg because your ankle was killing you, and it was to the point they had to carry you or come get you on a golf cart and take you off the golf course,
Yeah,
and then you got home. You needed help getting carried up the stairs or something into the house, and your ankle was really swollen. Is that right?
yeah, it was like this big. It was huge and it hurt so bad. I was like the biggest whiner,
And
but
so your husband was like, I got the right thing. He just whipped together a bunch of herbs, rubbed like a paste or a cream on there. Is that right?
yeah, you put like a paste on there and like a hot towel and then a dry towel, so it's like a compress kind
Right.
of. And it made, I mean, in an hour, I was like no swelling, could walk. The next day, I was wearing heels. I was like totally fine.
That's so unbelievable. So you were like, you had this experience. You're like, oh my God, we need to do something with this. And you decided to, this is like a whole other process I really want to get into, but you made a patch out of it essentially. You found someone who make it in Taiwan, I think. Is that right?
Yeah,
And this is like, it's so cool because you just get these ideas and you run with them and then here you have it. So last couple months have been pretty good and it's been growing.
yeah, it's
Okay.
been awesome.
I was actually thinking about that yesterday, and have you ever thought about selling it in a bottle, like almost not like Vaseline, but some sort of like jar where you can take some paste and rub it on?
Like a liquid,
Yeah.
yeah. So we have two more products that are like in the pipeline to be made. So one of them is a product that we already sell at the Dragon Tree that we're going to repackage for Imbue because it's like a pain, like an ointment kind of
Right.
thing. So yeah, it'll be happening soon.
It's interesting because I thought about it, like, and I wonder if there's like preconceived notions of people that with patches it's more of a medicinal or almost drug related, and this is like the opposite. You know what I mean? Like, because when I think of patches, I think of nicotine patches, And you know what? Recently, I just saw one that was like a Red Bull patch, like delivered the same kind of energy. Yeah, not Red Bull, but you know what I mean. That
Like a caffeine patch?
it wasn't caffeine; it was all natural, like the 5 hour energy or whatever. But and
Oh,
I thought like I wonder like if anybody will ever like if you can just wrap your brain around that it's not that. I just was personally thinking it might be kind of cool to have just like almost like a paste that you rub on like you did, and
yeah.
maybe the markets would or the consumers might receive that differently. And
Yeah.
did you guys go through the same line of thought? Or
Yeah, I mean, really, we had the other one made first, actually, like the liquid.
right,
But because anything that you put on that isn't included, then it evaporates into the air, and so it doesn't stay effective as long.
got it.
So even if it's a gel or a lotion or whatever, they all kind of absorb into your skin, or they rub off in your clothes, or they like evaporate, and so
Right.
they're just not effective as long. But they can be just as effective in the moment, and so that's why we wanted to have more than one option because the pain patch lasts for a really long time. Which
So
is
like
really,
if I have a bad back pain, I can just throw it on,
yeah,
and it goes to work, and wow.
yeah. It's amazing. I can brag about it because my husband did it. I'm like, it's amazing. I'm like astounded by how well it works, actually.
Yeah, that story about your ankle within an hour and the swelling just disappearing.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, I used to skateboard a lot, and I was always spraining ankles and playing soccer, the same thing, and it's interesting. So, all right, so that's very cool. So now is that business starting to grow pretty good in the last year? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
hmm And we have a manager who manages that too. So really, my input in that business is only about an hour a week, which is really nice.
So that's 6. So you've got a couple hours with the salons, spas.
It's good.
I mean, it's gonna haunt me for the rest of the day. So you got a couple hours with the spas, a couple hours with the is it Imbue or how do you say it?
Imbue, yeah,
Imbue.
Imbue pain patch.
And so you got a couple hours with both of those, and then I'm assuming it's taking some of your time and energy to do the third location.
Yeah, it's not taking as much as it will soon because we plan on opening in May. So like March and April will take more of my time. Right now, it's kind of like meeting with architects and doing like fun stuff, which I really love. And then I've been spending a lot of time. I created a course too on like how to get what you want.
Right.
So that was taking like a bunch of my time until recently, and so I kind of am almost done with all of that creation, and then I'll be able to turn my energy over to like helping the spa open.
That's so awesome. You should have talked to me before you did that. We whip courses out like gangbusters now. We've gotten pretty good. We have a whole system in place. And I assume you have video, audio, transcriptions.
Do.
Yeah. I remember the days of spending 3 months just working 40 hours a week on it, and now it's like, well. Anyway, so cool. So you've got
Next
that.
time I'm coming to you first.
What's that?
Next time I'm coming to you first.
Yeah, you should, and I'll be glad to help you. I mean, we literally can bang them out in 30 days, and in my involvement, or even the creator, whoever's doing the content, it's just whatever time it takes them to do the content, not even the editing of the content. Nothing. Yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, that's amazing. So this is really cool. So you built this business, and this was the one thing I wanted to get to. Since you've left the spas, have they fallen apart? Have they grown? What has that experience been like?
So they've grown, which has been great. Actually, we left at the beginning or the middle of August, and August was the best month we've ever had.
Did it make you nervous to leave knowing that?
No, I was like awesome because I mean, August I really wasn't even there at all because I was packing at my house and moving across the country, and I felt like if you guys can manage it and make it grow, that to be the best month ever as I'm leaving, I'm like hallelujah. So, and it's been growing every month since, like this year over last year, so that's been really good. They really like track all their numbers with me really closely. So if something
we're only in February, so you only have 1 month this year over last year.
well,
I'm teasing you. I mean, year over year. I know. I'm teasing.
Yeah, right. But that's been really good, and I think that it helps that we have like a very specific like number tracking system. Like we're all tracking the same numbers, so if something's going down, we can see it before the end of the month and start evaluating it and changing it. And so that's really helpful. I'd say that the only thing that is challenging is that, are things I didn't know, like, oh, they're not going to care about expenses as much as I do. And so you
Do
kind
you
of find
find
out,
yourself seeing the expenses ramp up and having to have calls and be like, hey, we need to,
yeah.
is that something you only have to do once or is it constant?
Well, we'll see. It's just been mostly like the last 2 months, and so we've like had a conversation and set like a more clear budget, and so now we shouldn't have to have that conversation again. But if you have to, you have to.
Yeah, it's like the greatest thing when you can begin to delegate and you have to like know that people are gonna make mistakes, things are gonna get screwed up here and there. Almost never is it not life threatening, but a big deal. And the best part is when you have a team that you only make the same mistake once, or
Right?
God forbid twice, but sometimes it can be twice. Let's pray it's minor, but never the third time. Never.
No, never
Yeah.
a third time. It's just not possible to have a third time.
Yeah. So this is okay. This is really cool. I didn't realize you were so removed when we started this interview, or before we started talking. I didn't realize you were so removed. So I'm impressed. What would your like advice to somebody who is currently running a business or wants to start a business and eventually be hands off? What would your advice be to kind of obviously build a successful business, but get there? What are some of the key things that you've learned and along the way in that regard?
I would say that like having really clear systems and structures, the more systems you put in place, the easier it is for somebody else to do it.
Right.
And so if you don't if you want to be removed, then you're going to have to create the ability for somebody else to do what you do. And so I think a lot of people think like I want to be removed from my business, but they also don't want to take any time to create a structure, and you have to create a structure.
Was it hard for you to let go of certain tasks?
It was at first. I feel like it was when I was hiring people that weren't as good at things as I was. And then
Right.
I started hiring people that were better at things than I was. And that made a huge difference because I felt like, well, I could do this, but you'll do this just as well or better than I do.
Yeah, that's a big revelation. So I guess your advice in that regard was just get as many systems in place as you can and create those. Yeah.
Yeah, hire great people, and really treat your team well. I think makes a huge difference too.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have some team members I think that we overpay a little bit, but they're worth it every penny to me because they're amazing. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So, awesome. All right. 3 books. Do you have 3 books that you'd recommend? Do you read it all?
No, I never read.
I saw that look on your face.
I'm like, I've never read a book before.
Or one book. Is there any book for business that's been, and don't say the 4 Hour Work Week. Have you read that?
No.
Okay.
I have read that book and I did think it was good, but I actually really like The Radical Leap a lot.
What
I
was
think
it?
that's Radical Leap.
Radical Leap?
Uh-huh. And I also liked Going Pro a lot.
Okay.
Um,
I'm actually going to write these down. What did you like about those 2 books?
Radical Leap, I felt like was good for me just recently when I felt like I needed to change a little bit about, like I felt like I was like pressing up against my own walls, and I felt like that book really helped with that. And Going Pro, I can't remember the name of his first book right now, but it's so great about. I feel so strongly about like being really committed to what you're doing, and this like not this like flighty like this is shiny, and he's so much about like being dedicated to what you do as like your craft. And I love that, and it helps me a lot. Like, be like, okay, even if I don't feel like writing, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna write. Even if it like sucks and I have to rewrite it, at least I'm doing it until I'm gonna keep doing it and doing it and doing it until it comes together. And I love that about that.
Going
So
Pro, Radical Leap. Okay. I haven't read either of those books. So, yeah, no, I haven't. And I've heard of Radical Leap. And I maybe have heard of Going Pro. But yeah, no, those both sound like great suggestions. And I know people can find you as brianaborten.com. Is that right?
yeah,
And I'll put a link underneath this. And what was the patch? How do you spell the imbue?
oh, it's Imbue, IMBUE,
And that's imbue.com, right?
imbuebody.com.
Imbue Body. But if you live in the Northeast, you can go to Whole Foods and get that.
Yeah,
Yeah, God, is it like just for any pain, any swelling, like anything? It works pretty well.
yeah, it's great for arthritis, and it's good for joint pain and muscle pain and swelling. It's really great for trauma. So, like you twist your knee or your ankle or whatever, it's great for that.
Yeah. Okay. Can you order them from the website?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I guess I've been surfing a lot, and I get these like knots in my back and shoulders, and just from getting worked. And it'd be nice to be able to throw something like, I was thinking about that paste. We talked about putting a cream or a paste on. Well, you can't really do that unless you're in the comfort of your home.
Yeah.
You can have your clothes off to do that,
Right.
So I can see.
For a California home where it's nice and warm.
Yeah, exactly. So awesome. All right. Any last closing advice? A lot of people that will watch us, I'm sure, will be entrepreneurs, business owners, and people looking to get there at some point. Any closing parts of wisdom?
I guess I would say like don't make crappy because like I'm not saying you won't do well in business that way, but we just don't need more of it in the world. So I think that like having something you really believe in and producing like high quality, like not mediocre.
So whether that be coffee, whether that be a massage and the therapists that you hire that are great, or whether that be creating training courses, whatever, just do it and put 110% into it.
Yeah, like don't just do it to make money. Like do it because you like actually have something that you would pay for that you think is amazing, you know? And I feel like that for me has made a big difference because I so believe in what I do because I know it's amazing. And like I will not provide crappy shit. And if I do, like if one of my massage therapists does a bad job, you'll get your money back. Like no questions asked. And I think that I really love that about other entrepreneurs, and I feel like I can see who they are like immediately because they have a different glow about them. Like they feel different because they're not.
That glow.
You do. Yeah.
Just teasing. But no, it's so true. You know what? That was a monumental shift, I think, in our business. We always cared and we always went above and beyond, but the actual products and the trainings we created, once we said, let's make these amazing, like it was a monumental shift. Like business increased, people were happier, refund rates decreased, and it's like you go to bed and like I make awesome, and people love it. And I swear to God, there's that quote. I think it's a Jim Rohn quote, maybe Dale Carnegie, but it's like the more value you provide, the more you'll get out of life. And if I think that it's cool to know that that's a big principle of yours because I really feel like those that succeed generally, when you look back, they're either scam artists or something, but they're not going to succeed. Always catch up with them. But they've done nothing but they've provided a ton of value and they've been rewarded as a result.
Yeah, so. I think it's a huge difference, and I think it makes a difference in your like happiness right now, which is like
personally.
Yeah, and I think like that's the thing is like people think they're like aiming for something else, like you're aiming to like be really successful and have a multi-million-dollar business, and like let me tell you, I have that, and like shit still sucks sometimes, but it's your attitude now that makes the difference in the long run. It's like, my daughter still like sometimes like throws up all night long and I'm like up all night and it sucks. But you have to bring it then. You have to always bring your best attitude, even if you're like at the beginning of business or any point in life, like you have to be positive no matter what's going on, because it won't matter when you have a multi-million-dollar business. You won't be positive if you're not positive now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, that's awesome advice. I was going to say a bunch, but you said it all, really. So, well, that's awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. So, huge thanks for doing this, Briana. I really appreciate it. I'm really impressed, and I hope everybody else gives you big shout outs. You're on Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah, I got all the social media down.
Search Briana Borten. I'll put some links on there to contact you as well. So, if you've enjoyed this, if you stuck with it, I'll chop it down so that it's a little bit more digestible. But if you guys have stayed with us throughout the whole thing, be sure to give Briana a shout out. And I appreciate you, Briana.
Thank you so much. So nice.
Thank you.